Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. More information about Dillian Whyte's alleged failed drug test ahead of his fight with Oscar Rivas has leaked out. BoxingScene.com, which first reported the story, has come out with more information specifically on the two substances that were in Dillian Whyte's body. So they are saying that there were two metabolites in his system. I'll get to that news, a bit of the reportage, and then on to, well, what is the substances that were in his body? Also, Team Rivas has made some allegations about some dodgy business ahead of the fight with gloves. I'll quickly touch on that. The British Boxing Board of Control has released a statement regarding anti-doping, and also Jerrell Big Baby Miller has weighed in on this situation. I'll get to that towards the end. With that in mind, buckle in. Let's go. So we will start with the Boxing Scene coverage of the story. Remember, they broke the information that Dillian Whyte had allegedly failed a drug test. A sample had come back on July 17. It had one or more substances in his system. So that didn't confirm if it was multiple, but they have now followed up a day later with another story saying that the A sample taken from Dillian Whyte by UK anti-doping tested positive, and the substances were epimethodianone and hydroxymethodianone, two metabolites of the banned drug Dianabol. And we'll come to Dianabol soon, but it says the metabolite is a byproduct of the body breaking down or metabolizing a drug into a different substance. When a drug is leaving the user's system, it leaves these intermediate end products. And it says that Dianabol is an anabolic steroid that is taken orally, often in tablet form, developed in 1955, yada yada yada, used as a performance-enhancing drug, particularly by bodybuilders. Among its many side effects, it can cause serious liver damage. The amount of epimethodianone and hydroxymethodianone found in Whyte's A sample was very small. It would have been ingested as part of a supplement rather than the direct ingestion of Dianabol tablets. But the WADA standard is qualitative, not quantitative. In other words, any amount in the system is a violation of the WADA code. So WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency. VADA is a testing agency, and UK Anti-Doping is a testing agency in the United Kingdom. They do more than just boxing. And just to note, I had a few comments in previous comment sections regarding the story saying that UK Anti-Doping was not a credible body, that it was VADA. VADA was the only one, and Dillian Whyte had been cleared by VADA. That is a seriously naive statement for people to make. UK Anti-Doping covers sport in the UK, but also the testing, if it's random, and there were two agencies doing it, they're not doing it at the same time. They're not necessarily going to have the same results. So for people to say, oh, he was cleared by VADA, that means he's clean, that is a seriously naive position to take. The story notes that the British Boxing Board of Control was advised by UCANT prior to Whyte Rivas had tested positive. However, it allowed the fight to proceed as scheduled without notifying the Rivas camp of the finding. And I'll just get to the British Boxing Board of Control and their statement before getting to what is Dianabol. So on its website, the British Boxing Board of Control released a statement. British Boxing Board of Control anti-doping regulations. With regard to the above, United Kingdom anti-doping undertake all anti-doping procedures on behalf of the British Boxing Board of Control, and any subsequent findings, decisions, suspensions and sanctions are upheld by the British Boxing Board of Control in line with United Kingdom anti-doping. No further comment will be made at this time. So that really is a bit of a nothing statement. So they have not really addressed the issue at hand, which is obviously Dillian Whyte, his specific case. And obviously if they knew there was a sample that had a adverse finding within it, and we're hearing two substances within the sample, then why did the fight go ahead? Why was Oscar Rivas' team not notified of the failed test? And I guess, that leads to speculation about why did this fight actually go ahead. Some of this has been put down in the coverage so far that UK anti-doping do not regard it as a failed test until the B sample has been tested. Some reporting has suggested that the B sample was asked to be tested, so that allowed the fight to go ahead. But, it does, on the face of it, with Oscar Rivas' team not knowing anything about this, seem awfully murky. But in terms of what is Dianabol, So it's an anabolic steroid. So you can see here on screen, also known as methadone or methasterolone, and sold under a brand name Dianabol, among others. So it may not just be Dianabol. It can be kind of like when Jerrell Miller, there was Endurabol, but that was also under different names, GW1516 and other bits and pieces. It's used non-medically for physique and performance-enhancing purposes. That's taken by the mouth. So as the earlier reportage by Boxing Scene suggested, orally. People also ask, what is Dianabol used? Dianabol is an anabolic steroid. That means it is a synthetic steroid hormone that resembles testosterone. Pro-hormones can be similar to anabolic steroids, as they can be used to enhance athletic performance and increase muscle gain significantly. However, they act as a precursor to hormones. So on the face of it, Dillian Whyte, with what we're hearing, BoxingScene.com obviously has an inside track on this information. And you have to ask yourself, who is feeding them the information? Because it didn't come from anywhere. Dillian Whyte, his team, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, they have lost complete control of the story. And there are some people, conspiracy theorists out there, who are saying that Dillian Whyte has been stitched up here. But on the face of it, there does seem to be a case to answer that there's this alleged failed test. We're now hearing 2 substances were in his body that result from taking Dianabol, an anabolic steroid. So it does seem that there's more than just smoke here, and for people to suggest that Whyte is being stitched up, it looks like he has failed the test. So we need more information, we need more facts from some of the parties involved here, but no one has been coming out refuting what BoxingScene.com is saying, and that in itself is telling. And now they've come out with more information about this Dianabol that Dillian Whyte has allegedly taken in a failed test, which was ahead of his fight with Oscar Rivas. And Team Rivas, which apparently was not informed, is unhappy about other aspects with the fight. There was a dispute about gloves. So I'll leave a link to this story as well in the description box. I'm not going to go all the way through this, but a member of Rivas's team, Russ Abner, who's also the CEO of Rival Boxing obviously does gloves too, details a sort of incident ahead of the fight where with gloves, that sort of stuff, they were picked, and Dillian Whyte ended up wearing different gloves on the night, and they weren't allowed to inspect them. He wasn't, the British Boxing Board of Control did not make them take it off. They lodged a protest about this ahead of the fight. It's actually quite good reading, and it sort of does make for interesting, a few interesting questions about what really went on here with the gloves. But yeah, I'm not going to go into this, but yeah, this situation with Dillian Whyte, it's not looking good. There's been some people who've been saying, oh, this is just not true at all. There is no information to suggest from official sources that Dillian Whyte has failed a test. But Eddie Hearn has not refuted this. Remember his original statement in which he said the fighters were cleared to take part in the fight. That didn't actually mean that he hadn't failed a test, and that didn't mean there wasn't more to the story. If there was nothing to the story, he would have just refuted it outright and said there was no failed test, that there was nothing to see here. But clearly he couldn't if he didn't want to say that. And we haven't actually seen Eddie Hearn or Dillian Whyte officially weighed in on this since Eddie Hearn's initial statement. And this is actually a story which has completely got away from them. And yeah, it does make me wonder who's had access to the information, who's been feeding it to BoxingScene.com, the reporter Thomas Hauser. Yeah, it does make me wonder about this. And Eddie Hearn and Dillian Whyte have lost control of the narrative. In many people's eyes now, Dillian Whyte is a drugs cheat, but there's still an information gap here that needs to be filled. We need to have some of these outfits coming out and explaining themselves what has actually gone on here. Even if it is just to say, look, the B sample is on its way. We did get that tested. There was an adverse finding. Because you may remember, as I pointed out in an earlier coverage, Eddie Hearn was very quick to say that Jerrell Miller had failed an A sample and they were waiting on a B sample, that there was an adverse finding. He has not been prepared to do this, but he has worked a lot closer with Dillian Whyte over a period of, a number of years. But Miller himself, you can see here on screen, he's actually come out on social media wading in on this whole situation. I'll play it now.
I know the whole Dillian Whyte situation. I mean, they blasted me when my whole news came out and had a lot to say. But the last like couple weeks or months, me and Dillian Whyte got in contact with each other, and just been talking, man, just leveling out with one another. And I honestly don't got nothing bad to say about Dillian Whyte. You know what I mean? He's a good dude, he's a brother, he's funny, he's a warrior, and in this sport of boxing, things happen. So I'm not gonna sit here and bash Dillian Whyte. I'm not gonna do that. That's not my character. I mean, when I was fighting AJ, I was saying smack about AJ because I'm trying to get his head, and I know things about AJ. Like, if you think he's as goody two shoes, I think he's in Giannis. He has some suckers too. But like I said, I was running down on AJ because I was coming for his head. Different story. Me and Dillian Whyte ain't got no fight, son. So I got nothing to say bad about Dillian. Yo, brother, you still in a better position than I was. You got the fight, you got to collect a check. So I think Dillian might be more than fine. For all the other fighters out there that's quick to criticize guys, have that same energy. I want to, all the time when one of your friends when shit don't go there, right? Hey, bow and arrow. Hey, my dogs out here fighting and junk. But yeah, fighters are so quick to judge other fighters, man. Like I've never judged other fighters as quick as some of these guys do it. Kind of aches me is how quick Deontay is so quick to go on social media and write a long ad. But he's always been emotional. We all know Deontay's one of the emotional fighters in the division. And a lot of people don't even know his brother failed a drug test back in April, and you don't hear him saying nothing about that. So for him to go on media to go blast Dillian Whyte all of a sudden, handle your business. Because we know you broke your hand 3-4 times or whatever the case may be, and how you healed your hand so fast. So stop it. You know what I mean? Like, boxing is a weird sport. Things happen.
Jerrell Miller's statement. So what do you make of this evolving situation? On the face of it, it doesn't look good for Dillian Whyte, but there is still a massive gap in information. Some of the key players that do know what is going on, what has gone on, what the actual story is, are not talking. And at the moment, we are relying on one source of information, which is not being disputed at the moment. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.